Listen, chosen one. If you are hearing this, it is because the universe itself was paused for you. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. This is the divine report of what just occurred in the realm of the spirit concerning your life. You felt it, didn't you? That sudden, heavy stillness. That silence where there should have been movement. Doors you prayed for remained shut. Communication faded into nothing. Plans that seemed certain dissolved overnight. And in that quiet, the pressure mounted. A pressure without a name, without a source, but with a weight that pressed down on your spirit, on your hope, on your very identity. You began to question everything. Did I miss God? Was I wrong? Am I being punished? The enemy's first lie is always isolation. The feeling that you are alone in this struggle, that even heaven has turned its back. You were not imagining the resistance. You were not manufacturing the delay. The spiritual conflict you sensed was real. There were forces assigned to monitor your progress, to target your faith, to trigger your emotions into a reaction that would disqualify you from what comes next. They watched. They waited. They celebrated every moment you spent in confusion, believing their strategy was working. But they misunderstood the silence completely. This message is your confirmation. That pressure was not the weight of failure. It was the weight of divine intervention. Heaven stepped in. God himself issued a command that halted cosmic operations concerning your destiny. Time was restrained. Motion was stopped. Not to harm you, but to shield you. You were not stuck. You were being protected in a way you could not yet comprehend. Before we go deeper into why, pause with me. If these words are already resonating in your spirit, if you feel a stirring, a relief, a sense of being seen, this is not random. Do not let this moment pass you by. Subscribe to this channel right now. This is a place for those who receive these confirmations. The enemy would love for you to hear this and walk away, disconnected. Secure your connection here. Hit subscribe. Your obedience in this small step aligns you with the revelation about to unfold. So the silence remained. And in that silence, the enemy's narrative grew louder. It sounded like this. You are forgotten. It felt like this. A deep sense of abandonment. It looked like this. Others moving forward while you stood still. Betrayals surfaced from those you trusted. Accusations rose from hidden places. Relationships you valued collapsed without a true explanation. Every circumstance screamed that God had changed his mind about you. Chosen one, listen to me. That was the great deception. That was the misinterpretation of the highest order. The silence was not his absence. It was his supreme focus. While everything in your life seemed to slow to a crawl, in the spirit, a divine courtroom was in session. The pause was not a punishment. It was a legal proceeding. God was gathering evidence. Every lie spoken against you, every covert scheme designed to block you, every moment of jealousy directed at your anointing, it was all being presented, recorded, sealed. Your endurance during this time was not passive waiting. It was active testimony. Your refusal to completely break, even when you bent, was a powerful witness in your favor. The enemy thought the delay was your defeat. They celebrated prematurely, exposing their hands and their hearts. They believed heaven had moved on. But all the while, the judge was watching, listening, and preparing a verdict that would shake the very foundations of their plans. The loneliness you felt was a necessary separation. God was pulling you away from every voice that would have mislabeled this season. He was isolating you to his frequency so you could hear one truth. This stillness was strategic. It was containment. A holy holding pattern, because what he was about to do in your life required a clean slate and a precise moment. The silence was filled with purpose, not with neglect. You were being preserved for a reveal that would require no explanation, only awe. This is where the story turns. This is the moment you need to see clearly. When motion stopped, the opposition misread the entire situation. They operate on one frequency, chaos. Their strategy relies on speed, on reaction, on emotional overwhelm. So when heaven forced a stillness upon your journey, they had no grid for it. They interpreted divine restraint as your surrender. They saw the closed doors and assumed God had locked you out. They saw the silence and assumed your faith had gone quiet. They saw the isolation and assumed you were finally defeated. And in their miscalculation, they grew bold. They became reckless. Hidden agendas surfaced. True loyalties were revealed. Words were spoken that should have remained hidden. Actions were taken that exposed their real intent. Chosen one, Their celebration was your protection. Their premature victory party was a fatal error. In their excitement, they provided all the evidence heaven needed. Every jealous word, every manipulative scheme, every attempt to claim what was ordained for you, it was all documented in real time. They believed they were pushing you further into a corner, but in truth, they were boxing themselves into a verdict. The very resistance meant to break you was actually building your case. The pressure was not to crush you, but to force what was hidden in darkness to step fully into the light, where it could be permanently addressed. You were not weak in that season. You were shielded, and while they danced in what they thought was your ending, the true judge was granting a divine delay not for your harm, but for their full exposure. Let me show you what was happening while you waited. You felt a strange sensation, didn't you? A feeling of being watched, of eyes upon you. You were right, but those eyes were not all hostile. The courtroom of heaven was in session, and you were the central subject of the proceedings. Picture a vast holy chamber. On one side, the accuser lists every failure, amplifies every doubt, and presents every setback as proof you are unworthy. On the other side, your advocate, your divine counsel stands, and he does not argue. He simply presents the evidence. He holds up your silent prayers. He plays the echoes of your tears. He points to your continued choice to trust even when you could not see. He submits the record of every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, faith over fear, stillness over striving. The judge observes all, and the evidence he values most is your endurance, your refusal to let go of his hand, even when it felt like he had let go of yours. That was not weakness. That was testimony. The verdict was not about if you would move forward, but when and how. The pause was the court ordering a stay of proceedings in the natural realm until the spiritual judgment was complete. Every betrayal, every lie, every closed door was entered into the eternal record, and the gavel has now fallen. The judgment is in your favor. The opposition has been found guilty of interfering with a divine mandate. The sentence is not just your release, but their removal from your path. The authority they used to block you is now being transferred to you. The case is closed. Heaven has ruled. I need you to hear this. You are not listening to this by chance. This is a broadcast from that very courtroom to your spirit. Many hear messages, but chosen ones receive confirmations. If this is resonating in the deepest parts of you, you cannot afford to walk away disconnected. Subscribe now. Hit that button. You have spent enough time in isolation. A family of those who understand this journey is right here. Join them. Let your subscription be your first act of agreement with this new verdict. There is a line in the spirit that, once crossed, changes everything. It is the threshold where mere resistance transforms into irreversible consequence. Chosen one, the opposition around you crossed it. They moved beyond trying to discourage you. They graduated from simple obstacles. They engaged in full-scale spiritual sabotage, targeting the core of your calling and your peace. This was not a random attack. It was a calculated escalation, believing you were too isolated, too weary to counter it. But in doing so, they triggered a divine protocol. They appealed to a higher court, one whose rulings are final. Heaven does not negotiate when this line is crossed. It intervenes. The universe was paused because your next step, in your rightful anger or frustration, would have played into their hands. God halted the entire sequence to protect you from a battle that was no longer yours to fight. The conflict was upgraded. This was no longer about your endurance. It was about his justice. The pause was his hand catching the arrow aimed at your destiny midair. You were shielded because the consequence for touching his anointed had now been activated. What they meant for your collapse, heaven has now turned into their own undoing. The weight you felt was the divine scales of justice being loaded. Pause here, right now. If you have not yet subscribed, I need you to ask yourself a direct question. Why not? What is holding you back from securing this flow of confirmation? Every time you have searched for answers, every night you have prayed for a sign, God has been guiding you here, to this word, to this moment. To ignore this pull, to walk away without connecting, is to resist the very guidance you've begged for. Do not reject the hand heaven is extending. Subscribe. Activate this connection. Your next breakthrough may depend on your obedience in this very second. Now you will understand the severing. The relationships that faded, the connections that broke. It was not a loss. It was a divine eviction. There were people in your circle who had access to your life but no alignment with your destiny. They enjoyed the benefits of your anointing, your wisdom, your peace, your light, while quietly resisting the price of your calling. They were comfortable with you as you were, but threatened by who you were becoming. When the pressure mounted, their true loyalty was revealed. The silence exposed them. They needed you moving, striving, and needing their advice to feel valued. In the divine pause, they had nothing to fix, no drama to manage, so they left. This was a necessary violation. Their access was a spiritual leak. God could not allow them to proceed into the next chapter with you, because their presence would have contaminated a sacred season. Their departure was not a betrayal against you, but a removal of a betrayer for you. Do not mourn them. They were not assigned to your future. Their exit is proof that God is cleaning house, ensuring that your elevation is pure, powerful, and free from the compromises of the past. You are not alone. You have been made ready for true covenant. This is the core truth you must embrace. God is elevating you, but he will not elevate a contaminated vessel. The stripping away, the painful separations, the sudden endings, they were not signs of rejection. They were the final stages of a divine purification process. Heaven is preparing you to carry a weight of glory, an authority, a mantle that cannot coexist with old alliances, old compromises, or old ways of thinking. The fire you walked through was not to destroy you, but to burn away everything that could not survive the altitude of your next assignment. Think of a surgeon preparing a patient for a critical transplant. The environment must be sterile. Even a single germ could cause a fatal infection. In the same way, your spirit, your circle, and your calling are being made sterile to the infections of the past: jealousy, manipulation, disloyalty, and doubt. The loneliness you felt was the isolation chamber. The silence was the sanitizing light. You are coming out of this process clean, whole, and capable of containing a power that would have shattered you before. Your new beginning is not a patched-up version of the old life. It is a sacred creation, built on a foundation of tested faith and proven obedience. The stillness was not passive. It came with direct commands for your spirit. To move forward, you must obey them. First, do not revisit the doors God closed. Do not knock again. Do not try to pry them open. Their sealing was a protection, not a mistake. To return is to insult the divine wisdom that shielded you. Second, do not explain yourself to the people who left. Your life is not a thesis to be defended before a jury that has already been dismissed. Your vindication will not come from their understanding, but from your manifested destiny. Their confusion is not your burden to resolve. Third, do not seek validation from the old season. The approval you once craved from those circles is a currency that is now worthless in the kingdom you are entering. Your validation now comes from the internal witness of the Spirit and the external fruit of your obedience. This is the discipline of the chosen. Your power lies in your focused silence, in your steady obedience without immediate evidence. The enemy wants you restless, searching, and emotionally entangled in the past. Your obedience to these instructions is a spiritual declaration that you trust the judge's verdict more than you trust your own need for closure. Your peace is your proclamation. Your stillness is your strength. You have felt a strange, tangible weight in recent days. A heaviness in your spirit, a thickness in the atmosphere around you, even a physical weariness that sleep does not cure. Chosen one, understand this sign. Weight always precedes a major transfer. This is not the weight of oppression. It is the weight of glory gathering. It is the spiritual substance of what is coming to you. New authority, new responsibility, new territory beginning to press into your current realm. Just as a pregnant woman carries the physical weight of a coming child, you are carrying the spiritual weight of a coming destiny. The enemy tried to mimic this feeling with depression and hopelessness, but what you are experiencing is holy. It is the ache of something magnificent growing within you, preparing for birth. The atmosphere around you is charged because the verdict from the courtroom is now manifesting. What was once tolerated is being displaced. What was hidden is being forced to the surface. This pressure is the divine squeeze, pushing out every last element that cannot go with you. Do not resist this weight. Lean into it. It is the proof that you are on the very edge of transition. The heaviness is the final confirmation that you are not imagining this shift. You are carrying it. While you stood still, heaven was moving with furious purpose. You felt inactive, but in the spirit, your name was being called in meetings you could not hear. Divine connections were being orchestrated in cities you have never visited. Resources were being redirected from hidden places toward your future. Angels were assigned to clear paths that were still blocked in the natural realm. The pause was never empty. It was a season of intense, behind-the-scenes realignment. Every prayer you whispered in the silence was not lost. It was being compiled into a divine mandate. Every tear was collected and measured. Your faithful obedience in the mundane, when no one was watching, was being recorded as evidence of your readiness for more. God was not making you wait. He was making everything else ready for you. The delay was never about your preparation, but about the preparation of your stage, your provision, and your people. The world around you needed to be synchronized to the new frequency you are now carrying. The silent preparation is complete. The curtain is about to rise. I need you to be honest for a moment. You feel this, don't you? This isn't just another video. This is a direct stream of confirmation to your spirit. If you are hearing this, receiving this, feeling this truth resonate, what are you waiting for? This channel is a tool in God's hand for your journey. To listen and not connect, to receive this word and walk away, is to ignore a divine setup. Subscribe right now. Do not let the distraction of the enemy cut you off from this flow. Your obedience in this moment is a key. Turn it. Now, feel it. The restraint is lifting. It begins as a subtle shift in the spiritual climate around you. A sudden, deep peace where there was once anxiety. A clear, quiet idea that solves a long-standing problem. An unexpected message from a person you haven't heard from in years. These are not coincidences. These are the first gentle movements of the divine machinery starting again. The hand of heaven that was holding you back is now positioned to propel you forward. But listen carefully. This is a critical moment. The enemy expects you to lunge forward in the flesh, driven by pent-up frustration and a desire to make up for lost time. That would spoil the purity of this release. You must move only with the wind of the Spirit. Move when He says move. Speak when He says speak. The power that was under control is now being released with control. Your test was in the stillness. Your triumph is in the disciplined, obedient motion that follows. Do not run ahead. Walk precisely. The path has been cleared, but it must be walked with spiritual discernment. Your first steps in this new season set the tone for everything that follows. Get ready for speed, divine speed. What took years to build against you will be dismantled in days. Situations that seemed permanently broken will resolve in sudden, unexpected ways. You will receive calls that reverse long-standing injustices. You will find favor that bypasses normal protocols. You will witness the sudden collapse of obstacles that once seemed immovable. This is the accelerated resolution. It is heaven's method of restoring the time the enemy stole. It is the divine compensation for your season of endurance. Do not be alarmed by the pace. This is not chaos. This is a holy alignment catching up to God's original timeline for your life. You will look back and see that the pause was necessary to create this moment of swift, overwhelming victory. The battles you thought you would have to fight will be over before you draw your weapon. The apologies you thought you'd never receive will come without you asking. The provision you prayed for will arrive from a source you never considered. This is the justice of God in motion. It is not gradual, it is decisive, and it is yours. A new authority is rising within you. It is not loud, it is not boastful. It is the quiet power of a settled matter. You will find that you no longer need to explain yourself. You will not feel the old urge to defend your position or justify your decisions. Why? Because your life will become the testimony. The results will speak for themselves. The favor you carry will announce your arrival before you even speak a word. This is the authority of the unspoken. It is the evidence of the courtroom verdict manifesting in your daily life. When truth confronts a lie in your presence, it will not require a lengthy argument from you. It will simply expose itself. When justice executes, it will feel like a natural, inevitable conclusion, not a dramatic fight. You are transitioning from being a defender of your destiny to a living demonstration of it. Your peace will be your proclamation. Your stability will be your statement. The opposition relied on your reaction. Now, they will be disarmed by your rest. You are about to communicate in a new frequency. It is a language of divine alignment that not everyone will understand. The people who left, the voices that fell silent, they could not comprehend this new dialect. It is spoken in promises, not complaints. It is heard in faith, not fear. It operates in gratitude, not lack. Those who are assigned to your future already speak this language natively. You will recognize them by the peace they carry and the purpose they express without strain. This is why the past season felt so lonely. You were being weaned off an old vocabulary of struggle and limitation. God was teaching your spirit to form the words of your new reality, words of dominion, of peace, of established victory. The confusion you felt was the old language fading away. The clarity you are beginning to sense is the new tongue taking root. You are not just entering a new season, you are becoming a new person, and new people require a new way of speaking to the world, to circumstances, and to their own soul. Chosen one, hear this final decree. The universe was paused because heaven had no other option. Every moment of pressure, every instance of silence, every painful separation served a divine purpose that has now been fulfilled. The evidence is gathered, the verdict is rendered, the contamination has been removed. The stage, once cluttered with the props of your old battles, is now clear. You are not stepping onto a repaired version of your old life. You are walking onto a new platform, constructed in the spirit during your season of stillness. This stage is set for a performance of destiny that you did not write, but that you were born to fulfill. The lights are not the harsh glare of interrogation, but the focused spotlight of divine purpose. The audience is not your critics, but a cloud of witnesses and angelic hosts. The script is not one of defense, but of declaration. You were not late. You were preserved. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared for a moment that required your full, undiluted identity. The restraint you endured has now been converted into a momentum that cannot be stopped. Walk forward. Speak in your new language. Operate in your unspoken authority. The pause has lifted. Your movement now carries the full weight of heaven's endorsement. Before you go, chosen one, recognize this. The fact that you received this word, that you stayed until the end, is a sign in itself. Your spirit was hungry for this confirmation. Do not let this be a single moment. Let it be the beginning of a continuous flow. Subscribe to this channel right now. It costs you nothing, but it secures your connection to a family and a flow of truth designed for your journey. Your next breakthrough, your next confirmation, is already prepared. Don't walk away from the source. Hit subscribe. Type "I am ready" in the comments. Your next step is here.